So I'm driving behind somebody this morning and I'm watching them. Uh, I'm watching them do this thing where they get real close to the line and come back, and get real close to the line and come back. And I wonder, what are you doing in the car other than paying attention to what you're supposed to be doing?
Texting?
I don't know. Because they kept going straight and I turned. But I see a lot of that. I see a lot of,
I see a ton of it, but you know what? The majority of that, when I see it, it's young girls that are texting. Or have their phone up with this in front of them.
I see a lot of just not paying attention.
Yeah.
A lot of, I'm like, what are you doing in the car? I've seen accidents, near accidents kind of thing.
What are you thinking? What's going on? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Have you ever been in a car and you hear it behind you and you look up and you're like, it's a dry, sunny
yeah.
day, an
Yeah,
accident,
accidents.
or I'm always,
No, but I do think when I drive by accidents where it's a dry, sunny day, and it's like, what?
or you looking at,
happened?
mhm.
How did that happen?
When that guy hit us, we were stopped and you could see it coming. There's nothing you can do but
You
sit
couldn't
there and
know.
go,
Oh, man. So what's up, Steve? How much?
I had lost power for 3 days, which wasn't that bad.
is that why you were underdressed for court?
That's
I don't know. You want to talk about just timing? I just happened to call that other lawyer, and he's like, because he had it for the next day also for some reason. And I was
Well, it's a good thing you had the file. Did you have the file?
like, no, the first hearing I did with the judge was, I don't know, 10 o'clock or whatever. What's what I get from home?
Yeah.
You know. And then, I changed out of my superhero costume and put on my golf shirt and made my way to the office.
Well, the last thing you said to me was, I'll see you next week. And I just, okay. And then when I looked in the file, I was like, oh, that's him and Ebright. I wonder, oh, okay.
So Wednesday we lost power.
What would happen?
I don't know. I don't know what happened, but we're leaving for Chicago Thursday morning early anyway, so it wasn't that bad. But my in-laws, who live about a mile from us, just got their power back yesterday. And my mother-in-law texted my wife this morning, they lost it again. So they went all those days, and they're 81, 82.
Good thing it's been breezy. So they can open
But if you look on that DTE map, because you can go and it shows you, it's like that one cluster of area.
It said 2,500 homes this morning. That was the report from DTE. There's still 2,500
Oh, is
in
that
that
what it is?
Farmington area,
Yeah,
maybe?
yeah, right.
Because the size of the trees that toppled over and hit the lines. It's in a very compact area, it looked like.
Was there a bad storm?
It was Wednesday, maybe about 4 o'clock. I was driving home. It was raining, but it wasn't anything bad. Then when I got to, because I went 15 Orchard Lake, which is the Farmington West Bloomfield Port. And as I'm driving, I started seeing the branches. Then I got into my neighborhood, and a tree branch from my tree, of course, fell onto my neighbor's driveway.
Oh.
So I called her up. I said, are you home? She says, I'm on my way. I said, well, you're going to park in the street.
Was it big enough that it was small enough that you can move it, or it just huge?
So my neighbor across the street, he's a really interesting guy. He's an MMA fighter, a mixed martial arts
Wow.
guy. He's from Inkster, and he converted to Orthodox, married an Orthodox Jew. And he's an MMA fighter. He's been on ESPN.
Alex probably knows.
Yeah, Darren Cruikshank is his name. The guy he like throws hatchets in his front lawn. Great guy, but he's a little out there. So I called him up because I knew he had a chainsaw. I said, hey, can you go across the street? He said, yeah, I'm Some firewood goes out there.
Well, you had the branches coming down and then you had the ground saturated. So
Yeah.
some of these trees with the wind, it just, I saw a picture of one where the whole front grass had pulled up as the tree had fallen over onto the roof of this house. So you just see this massive amount of root system that covered. I can't even imagine where do you even start?
Yeah.
What's his name, Darren? What?
Cruikshank. It's spelled Deron.
Oh,
You would never have gotten that, huh?
It's Cruikshank.
that's like.
Yeah, he was on the Japan MMA tour before COVID. So he had been fighting.
Oh. Well, I tell you, that's a big thing though.
But the MMA,
Yeah.
Well, did you see the Conor McGregor fight?
I didn't see it. I just saw the memes.
Yeah, did you see his leg?
No, what happened? Did he break his head?
Yeah,
Did he
he
go?
didn't even get hit, he just went back.
So that's why he lost?
Yeah.
That'll do it to you.
Yeah.
So before that, was he winning?
It was only a minute into the fight. I don't think anyone was winning. I didn't watch it. It was on pay-per-view. Thank goodness I didn't pay whatever, $75 for
For 90 seconds.
it. Yeah.
That movie loves it. Alex, the movie will want, they get all together. with their
Mm-mm.
friends. So I don't want to even see a picture of that. Yeah, it's funny how these girls get in. I'm not me.
I'm not a fan.
No, I don't want to see it. No, it looks horrible. They were saying that they were telling me they spent the night Saturday night, so I woke up with them on Sunday. They were telling me all these stars and
Mm-hmm.
Trump was there.
Mhm. Mm-hmm. It's a big thing. I mean, the fact that people are gathering again, and this is a big event. I'm just not a fan. It's not my thing, but I understand the attraction. Um,
I don't even understand the attraction. I don't. I get it for guys. Girls?
might be
I don't know,
surprised.
Yeah, it's a surprise.
I mean, yeah, not my thing, but you know what? If that's what you enjoy,
I remember when my brothers remember how WWE was really big. But you're too young.
no, I'm not.
Was it going on?
It was going on. We used to watch it on Saturday mornings.
I don't. But they used to watch it with my grandpa, my dad. I mean, it was like a big deal.
It was for when I was watching. It was probably junior high school age. It was like Randy Macho Man Savage and Roddy Piper in that era,
Yeah.
the Gravedigger, that kind of, the Undertaker, that time.
But you know what? Think about it. They're athletes. When you watch them, I've never watched them, but when you watch them, how they choreograph it.
Mm-hmm. You're running around, you're jumping off of the top rope and stuff, and you're grappling on the ground with somebody there. Can you imagine wrestling? I mean, just rolling around with somebody for 10 or 15 minutes and all, just the athleticism. So you,
How long they practice their moves together? You know, they have to.
I don't know. I'll keep my desk job, thank you. Because where they're hitting each other with chairs, and even though they're stomping while they're hitting, you're still getting hit to some degree.
Yep.
Ma'am, I'm sorry to subject you to this conversation. We're just waiting for the other attorney to come out.
It's okay.
Is she frozen?
She's there with us. I just forget that because we're out here waiting and we're picking up conversation from whatever. I never did clean this flag.
How you gonna do this? Just take it home and wash it?
It's nylon, so I should be able to run it in the wash machine. And the American flag is good. The Michigan flag just looks
I
like
bet
it needs.
it's probably been there before my dad.
Well, at our house, the flag is not up because of all the wind from last week, but we usually have an American flag. This time of year, we have an American flag. The rest of the year, we switch it out for like the Michigan flag and the whatever season it is or whatever holiday it is. But usually he does his Memorial Day thing and he'll say some words and put the flag up.
But that's cool. It was when I woke up on.
What is this stick? Oh, I'm listening to you. It doesn't matter at this point, but
Yeah, that's fine.
it's looking at yourself on Zoom is too much for me. But when you woke up, I'm sorry.
Oh, when I woke up on Fourth of July, my neighbors had a, flag flying out, and it was like, little things like that, how it can take you back to like my dad. On Fourth of July, he had the Lithuanian flag flying, the state of Michigan, and our flag. And it's like, just that, looking at that, I was like, oh, you know how this something can just like that?
We've talked about putting a full-size flag post, like the full thing in the backyard and have it lit and all that. Right now, it's just a flag on the front of the house, but we talk about a pole, but then once you have it up and you're gonna fly the flag all the time, you have to illuminate it and you have to put the light in. I said, whatever you want to do, we can do it.
Pretty. to have it illuminated.
Well, we have a huge pine tree, so we keep thinking maybe we put it to the side, but now we have this giant flagpole in our backyard, which I'm not adverse to. It's just a matter of
Well, how, you'd have to cement that baby.
Mhm.
together.
it's a commitment.
Yeah. And then my grandparents had American flag, and they would take it down every single night. So I don't know if that's a thing.
It's a thing.
You have to take it down right, and fold it the right way.
You should.
They did, he did, my grandpa.
I'm trying to think. Was it last year, maybe 2 years ago now? I reached out to Congresswoman Dingell's office and made a request for a flag that had flown over the U.S. Capitol for him. And well, because he had his military service and we reached a point of years in with GM and his time with the township. And I just, because I know how special it is to him, so I ordered the flag. I didn't tell him.
That's a great idea.
Yeah,
Did you get it?
yeah. He won't fly it. He won't fly it. He's like, nope, it's too special. Nope, nope, nope.
Wait, it used to fly over the Capitol?
They put them up. They have a whole team of people that put them up and take them down, and that's the one that they send. You can have that one, or you can just have one from the office. I want one that had been up and down.
No way. So it's still folded up?
It's
the
still
way-
folded up the way it's supposed to be folded up. He took it out one time, looked at it, folded back up like it was supposed to be.
So he, because of his military background, does he know how, I wouldn't know how to fold
He knows how to fold it. We've had to replace our flag a couple of times. Whenever we do, we dispose of it properly, which is a thing. You don't just throw it in the trash or whatever. So
What do you do?
there was a flag store that he used to take it back to. That's who we bought our pole and our replacement pole and our subsequent flags from. But they're like the VFW will take it back from you and things like that.
Oh, yeah. You know, the flag that they gave us from my dad, Alex has it. They make those, I finally got one.
The triangle display case?
I think, were you the one who helped me figure out that existed? Because it was just recently, when my dad's been gone for years.
That's what he wants to put his in because he has like his basic training picture up and one of his, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's an honor.
He enjoyed his time in the Navy. He wears his little Navy hat, his little USS Milwaukee hat. Yeah,
How long was he, did he serve?
3 years.
Where
Mhm.
was he?
Now you're asking me the hard questions. I hear about when they were transporting the Queen's jewelry, the Queen's jewels to Egypt for some big jubilee or anniversary or something like that. But yeah, I know.
That's a story.
The time they went to Greece. Oh, he'll tell you. That's why when Judge Bronson was telling me about it, I'm like, yeah, the two of you need to get together.
Oh,
It's an experience and it's a dedication. I mean, the fact that there are people who voluntarily serve their country, we don't do draft here. People voluntarily serve their country. It's a calling.
there's an age difference between Bronson and Huston. I mean, they wouldn't have.
Not much.
They would, I wonder if they were, could they have been here at the same time or in?
They're probably 10 years apart ish,
Oh, okay.
but I don't know. You never know. I'm sure they could talk each other's ears
Yeah,
off.
oh, I'm sure.
I just saw Mr. King walk by, so. Do. What else? I don't know. There's something on the window up there. It looks like a piece of tape on the far right.
Where? In the,
On the
yeah,
far right.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Are there anything here in your ceiling here?
I haven't noticed anything.
I haven't seen anything. How about the new one that I had put out? My mom had, windows in her house, whole house is just all glass. It's wood and
Mhm.
And she had someone come in and took the fan outside.
Not bad.
House went up.
Mm-mm.
Inside and out, and I did my dad's studio. It was like, beautiful.
How long did it take?
I apologize for the tardiness. I had a Judge Van Houten for Third Circuit on a different hearing, so.
Don't apologize for working.
It's like I never stop.
No, I understand completely, and catch your breath. This is 201089 SM State of Michigan versus Richard Harry Mason. Appearances, please.
Good morning, Your Honor. Larry King for the people, P78774.
Good morning, Your Honor. For the record, Steve Robinson appearing on behalf of Richard Mason, who's sitting to my right.
State your name for me, please, Mr. Mason.
My name
Yes, sir.
is Richard Harry Mason.
Thank you. This matter is scheduled for a bench trial this morning. Are the people ready to proceed?
The people are prepared to proceed. There is one pretrial matter I'd like to bring to the court's attention. One of the people's witnesses, Miss Rhonda Robinson, is in Tennessee. She is unable to appear in person. She is appearing by Zoom. I understand the defendant has a right to have her here in person. I would ask defense if they would consent to her appearance by Zoom. And if not, obviously, I understand that she may not be permitted to testify.
Mr. Robinson,
We would object, Your Honor.
you would object?
Yes.
On what grounds, sir?
Well, she is required to be here. She's not. So,
Your Honor, I really don't have an argument to make. The defendant has the right to have witnesses appear in person. I understand the pandemic has created a lot of issues with that. But if the defense is objecting to her appearance by Zoom, I'm really kind of without argument here.
I understand and I respect that, Mr. King, and that's the reason why I asked Mr. Robinson for the basis of his objection, because the country does continue to be in a pandemic, and I did not inquire of Ms. Robinson her reason for not appearing today in person. But inasmuch as the defense is objecting to her appearing by Zoom, I'm going to deny your request to allow her to appear by Zoom.
Understood and appreciated. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Ms. Robinson, and I would ask the court let her sign off.
Thank you.
thank
Ms.
you.
Robinson, thank you for your patience this morning. You can log off now. Have a good day, ma'am.
Thank you.
Are there any other preliminary matters, Mr. King?
Nothing from the people, Your Honor.
Anything else, Mr. Robinson?
No, Your Honor.
Any other witnesses?
Yes, I do have one witness here present. I would waive opening statements if the court would permit, if there's no objection from the defense.
I'm sorry, Judge, my client just had a question.
That's okay.
I'm sorry about that. Judge.
Mr. King was waiving his opening statement. Do you have any objection?
Your Honor, we'll reserve.
Your Honor, then with that being said, at this time I would call Miss Linda Underwood. And I ask Detective Harrison to go grab her from the hall.
Thank you. Mr. King, while Ms. Underwood is on her way into the courtroom, the one thing that I don't see a note in the file about is that I am in the habit of disclosing to attorneys the fact that I'm married to an elected official from Van Buren Township. The reason I bring this up is that Van Buren Township is the law enforcement agency involved in this matter. My husband is not involved in the day-to-day operations of the public safety department, wouldn't know anything about Mr. Mason or his matter, but I wanted to at least disclose that. I know that Mr. Robinson's aware of it, but I wanted to make you aware of it as well.
I appreciate that, Your Honor, and I don't intend to call any employees of Van Buren Township to the witness stand today. I have no problem, no objections there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Underwood, would you come up to this podium for me, please? Would you state and spell your name for me?
It's Linda Underwood, LINDAUNDERWOOD.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Going to have you come up to this ramp and have a seat in this purple chair right here.
And I will state for the record, Your Honor, there's a gentleman in the court who came in with Ms. Underwood. He is a friend. He is here for support. He is not a witness in this matter.
Thank you. Now, Ms. Underwood, your testimony is going to be recorded. You're going to pull your chair up to that microphone. And if you're going to watch Mr. King though, because he's going to ask you the questions. If she has any trouble hearing you, the secretary, I'll let you know, but we'll try to give it a go right now.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Ms. Underwood, could you state your full name for the record and spell your last name?
It's Linda Jean Underwood, UNDERWOOD.
Thank you. That way we'll get it right in the transcript, okay? Ms. Underwood, how do you know Mr. Richard, or do you know Mr. Richard Mason?
Yes, he's a former boyfriend.
When you say former boyfriend, how long did you know him?
Over a year.
When did you first
Couple
meet him?
years. Well, I met him at the first time ever at a street fair dance at Belleville on the street.
About when was that?
Probably 2017, something like that. I'm not sure.
Did the two of you date?
Yes,
For how long did you date?
it was over a year.
The person that you know as Mr. Mason, do you see him anywhere in court today?
Yes,
Could you tell the court where he's seated and what he's wearing?
he's seated on the judge's left side. He has blue sport coat on, gray hair.
Record reflect identification?
Yes, sir.
So, ma'am, what I want to talk to you about is September 22nd of 2019. Were you acquainted with Mr. Mason at that time?
Yes.
Were the two of you dating at that time?
Not of that day, but we had been previously.
So you had been dating prior to that day?
Yeah, it was an off and on
So-
relationship.
Thinking about the afternoon that day, September the 22nd of 19, where were you?
At the Van Buren Township Recreation Center.
Is that within Van Buren Township, Wayne County, Michigan?
Yes.
And what was going on there that day?
They have music on Sundays and with a band, and the community comes in and they dance and listen to music.
Were you there alone or with anybody?
I was with my friends at the table.
Did you see Mr. Mason at all that day?
Yes.
Was he there with you?
No.
How did you come to see Mr. Mason?
He walked in and sat down at a different table.
Okay. And what happened after that?
I don't remember exactly what all happened as far as the statement that I read, but he did come over to the table and said something about me staying there at his house. I had stayed there previously at his house. And
You had stayed at his house when?
I think a couple weeks before that or a week before that. I'm not
You
sure.
weren't staying with him or living with him at this
No.
time?
Not at all.
So he approached you, you had this conversation that you just mentioned about the housing situation. What happened after that?
Well, I didn't want a scene because he has been angry at the center before. So I didn't want a scene. So I started to get up like this, and I got up a little bit, and he grabbed my left shoulder and my right upper arm and pushed me back down.
Just a couple things for the record. As she said, I went like this as she turned her chair, and she did point with one hand to her shoulder and the other hand to her arm. Okay. So how did that feel when he did that?
It hurt because he was squeezing me quite tight
Okay. Where was he squeezing you?
on my left shoulder and my right arm,
Okay.
upper arm.
What happened next?
I told him that was hurting, and I told him loudly.
And what, if anything, did he do when you said that?
He just held for a couple seconds, excuse me, held for a couple seconds, and then he let go, and I got up and walked to the hall, and then I ran to the bathroom.
Did you have any injuries?
Just the pain.
And how long did that pain last?
Well, when I went into the bathroom, it was still hurting. I could still feel the pain there.
Okay.
But
How long after that did it last?
I don't think it lasted more than 10 minutes.
You had occasion to have contact with the police regarding this incident?
Yes.
And how did the police get involved, ma'am?
Well, I went in the next day and made a report
And why wait till the next day to make a report?
because I just didn't want to go through this. I didn't want to be here. I didn't want to go through a court case or anything. And it's embarrassing to be our age and have a problem. So that's why I waited, but I thought about it and thought about it. So I went in to make a report.
And what changed your mind as far as making the report? Why did you do
Because he's done other things to me before.
that? Okay.
And I just got tired of him doing things, and I had to go to the hospital before an emergency because of something that he did.
I'll object, Your Honor. That's just right.
No comment.
Sustain your objection.
So, ma'am, do you have any other dealings with Mr. Mason at this time?
No,
And were the two of you ever married?
no.
Okay. Ma'am, I don't have any further questions for you. I appreciate you being here today, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Robinson.
Thank you. Good morning,
Good
Ms.
morning.
Underwood. Do you prefer Ms., Mrs., Miss? I always want to get these straight before I get started.
It doesn't matter, Ms. is
Okay.
fine.
Ms. Underwood, you had stated that you were in a dating relationship with Mr. Mason, is that correct?
Yes,
And you stated that that was for a year?
I think a little bit over a year, yes.
From when till when?
I don't remember
Okay.
exactly.
But you also had indicated that it was on and off.
Yes,
So it wasn't a continuous yearly relationship, is that correct?
that's correct.
What would you consider a dating relationship?
Going out together, going over to his house, sometimes having a friendship. We traveled.
I'm sorry,
We traveled.
prior to September 22nd of 2019, when was the last time that you had traveled?
I don't remember. Okay, it was that summer, I believe. Or that year. I don't know if it was summer, but we traveled to Florida together.
And at some point, as you had indicated, it was on again, off again. When was it off again?
I don't remember the dates, if that's what you
Can you
referred
just give
to.
the court a time frame in relationship to September 22nd, 2019?
I had stayed at his house, excuse me, for a couple of weeks. I believe it was a couple of weeks. And I did a lot of praying and a lot of thinking about our relationship. And I decided that I would end it after going through some of the bad times.
Okay, you said you were staying at his house,
Yes, well, he had went to Florida. I'm not sure with the date.
okay, but he wasn't there, correct?
No, no,
And he let you stay in the house? I assume?
yes, he
You had
did.
a key? to the house?
Yes, he did.
Now, stated that you went to the Van Buren Township Senior Center for, was it a dance, some type of gathering?
Yes, they have music every Sunday, and they do dance there, and I do dance there.
Okay, would you go with Mr. Mason?
Sometimes, yes.
And would you dance with him?
Yes,
And I believe Mr. King asked you this, but I'm just going to double check. You didn't live together, is that
no,
correct?
we did not.
And when was the last time you saw Mr. Mason before September 22nd, 1990? Or, yes, 2019.
Well, I think it was probably 3 weeks, or when he came home. I'm not sure if I saw him then, probably when he left for Florida.
And you indicated you had been praying and you decided that the relationship was going to be over.
Yes.
And you told Mr. Mason that?
No, I did not.
Is it true that you were in church with Mr. Mason that morning, September 22nd?
That I don't remember. I have been in church with him, but I don't remember that morning.
You don't remember if you were in church with him?
That morning,
You don't?
September 22nd. No.
And how long were you at the senior center before you saw Mr. Mason?
It was 3:30 and it starts at 12. So he came in probably 1:30, I think. I'm not sure. But
Okay.
the incident happened at 3:30.
And you had indicated that he came up to you at the table you were sitting at?
Yes,
Now, did you have any contact with him prior to him coming to the table?
I don't remember if he said anything to me or not.
I'm sorry.
I don't remember if he said anything to me prior to that, or I don't remember that. It says in my statement that he did approach me to ask me to dance, but I don't remember that.
Okay, would your statement that you made to the police be a true and accurate statement at the time?
Absolutely. I just don't remember. some
But
of
today
it.
you can't remember if that statement's true or not?
I do remember that if I wrote it, it's true.
Okay.
I just don't remember some of the incidents.
And in that statement, you had indicated that he had come up to you and asked you to dance.
Well, I don't remember that. I didn't remember that. But what I wrote was the truth because it was the next day. I remembered the pandemic has went on. It's been 2 years since that incident. So yes, I forgot.
Okay.
But that is a true and accurate statement, what I wrote.
Okay. But sitting here today, you can't remember that.
Not all of it, no.
So you can't remember if you were in church with him that morning? Can you just let me finish? You can't remember if you were in church with him that morning, is that correct?
That's correct.
You can't remember if he approached you to dance?
Objection asked and answered.
I'll move on, Judge.
Thank you.
And how did Mr. Mason approach you when you were at the table?
He came up between my girlfriend and I remember him saying something about, well, she just spent 2 weeks at my house. That is when I thought, I don't want a scene. I tried to get up. I got up and he pushed me back down and grabbed where he had my shoulder and my arm and pushed me back down.
He didn't approach you from behind? In other words, did you see him coming towards you?
At the last, I think, yes.
I'm sorry.
At the last, he didn't come directly from behind. He came around the table and came in between my girlfriend and I.
Okay, so you saw him approaching you?
Yes.
Did you indicate that in the report? you saw?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
Is there a reason why you didn't see?
Well, I didn't know if that was of importance where he came from, which side or from the back or front or what. I didn't think that was of importance, or I would have.
And you stated, where did he grab you?
On my shoulder, my left shoulder, and my right upper arm.
And you remember that for sure?
Yes, I do remember the pain and where he grabbed me. Yes, I did.
And you stated that you were getting up
Yes,
and he pushed you down.
yes.
And how long did this last?
It didn't last very long. Like I said, he said a couple things about me staying there. I didn't quite understand everything he said because I was just,
You stated it lasted a few seconds. Is that
yeah,
it?
it was only a few seconds. Yeah, it wasn't minutes.
Okay, when we say
It lasted long enough for him to hurt me.
I'm sorry.
It lasted long enough for him to hurt me.
And how many people were at the table?
I think maybe 6.
Was it a circular table?
Yes,
And did all 6 of these people see this happening?
I don't know if they did, but my friends, she was on the left side of me, so she saw him squeezing
I'll
me.
object, Your Honor.
Pardon?
You're objecting to her response to your own question?
She's about to testify to what her friend saw.
Oh.
Boo.
All right, let me ask the question.
Rephrase the question. Okay.
Okay. How many people were at the table? You said 6.
I said about 6, yes.
Okay. And did you know these people?
Yes.
And
I don't know all 6. I don't remember all 6 that were sitting there. I do know 3, 4 of them that were sitting there.
are they people that you had seen before at the dances?
Yes,
So you were acquainted with them?
yes.
You know, strike that. Did you indicate to Mr. Mason that that he was hurting you?
Yes, I did.
And what did he do?
Well, after a couple of seconds, he let go because I told him he was hurting me.
So he let go of you after you said that, correct?
After a couple of seconds, yeah.
You indicated, I believe, that this happened around 3:30 p.m.
Yes,
and you got upset and you went to the restroom.
well, I wanted to leave that area because I didn't want to seem to be there. I've been going there for 10 years. He had only been going there about a year and had caused this, well, I can't say that.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
ma'am. I'm not catching the last part of what you were saying.
I got up because I didn't want to seem to be there at the senior center. So I got up and walked to the door, and then there's a hallway, and I ran down the hallway to the bathroom just to get away.
And then did you come back
Yes,
to the table?
yes,
And were the 6 other people still at the table?
yes.
And what time did you leave?
About 4:30,
4:30 p.m.
yes.
And where is the Van Buren Township Senior Center in relation to the police department?
It's right next to it.
But you didn't go to the police department at that time?
No, I didn't, did not.
And what time did you go to the police department eventually?
the next day, but I don't know what time.
Was it in the evening?
I don't remember.
You don't remember if it was it in the morning?
I just said I don't remember, sir.
If I told you it was 9 PM, would that be accurate?
I don't remember, sir.
Did you ever contact any of the other people that were at the table to get any statements from them?
Objection, relevance.
I'm gonna allow it. Objection overruled.
I don't know if I contacted my friend or she just said I saw what he did, and I didn't contact the other people, no,
Is there a reason why?
because she saw it. She was directly beside me, she saw it.
Okay.
So I don't know that the other people were even looking there. They were probably watching the band or watching the dancers.
But you don't know that for sure?
No, I don't know that for sure, and I don't know if they saw, so I didn't ask them.
But you.
I don't know them as well.
But you got up, you went to the bathroom, correct? You came back, is that correct?
Yes,
They were still at the table, is that correct?
yes.
Did you ask them, did you see what happened?
I don't remember what I said to them. I don't remember.
You don't remember?
It's 2 years ago, and
I understand that. I'm just asking if you remember.
I don't remember, sir.
I have no further questions.
Thank you. Any redirect, Mr. King?
Just one brief question. The person sitting right next to you, do you recall her name?
Rhonda Robertson.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Underwood, thank you for coming in this morning. I believe your testimony is concluded. You can step down.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Can I ask this witness be excused from her stand?
Yes, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Your Honor, I have no further witnesses. People rest.
Thank you. Mr. Robinson.
Your Honor, at this point, we would move for a directed verdict on this. Ms. Underwood has testified to various responses that she doesn't remember a lot of things that happened on that particular day. She indicated that at the point she said, "You're hurting me," that Mr. Mason immediately took his hand off of her. I don't think there's enough, Your Honor, to sustain the burden that the prosecution must sustain in this particular case.
And Your Honor, as the court's aware, motions for directed verdict are viewed in the light most favorable to the non-moving party, and the standard is whether or not there's been evidence placed onto the record as to each of the elements upon which a finder of fact could reasonably return a verdict of guilty. Your Honor, as the people have shown through the complaining witness, there is evidence that there was a prior dating relationship between these two people, and there was evidence placed on the record through Ms. Underwood's testimony that a forceful or offensive touching of her person was made upon her by the defendant. So, Your Honor, I would object to the motion for directed verdict.
Mr. Robinson.
Nothing further.
Motion denied. Your witness, Mr. Robinson?
Your Honor, may I just have one moment with my client?
Yes.
Your Honor, would the court have, and Mr. Mason has, aside from his sight issues, he does have some hearing issues. Would the court mind if I just stepped outside briefly?
That's fine.
Thank you, Judge.
Evergreen T&C? Somebody just came in and I don't know who it is. There's no reason for anybody to be here. Evergreen TNC. Start your video, unmute and identify yourself or I will remove you. I didn't even think, do you know, there are amplifiers right there. Do you know how to work them? To your left, there's a box, I thought.
On my table?
Oh, they moved. They're over where he is. Oh. Mr. Robinson?
Your Honor, the defense calls Richard Mason.
Has your client been able to hear the proceedings and
Yeah, I double
Okay,
checked it.
okay.
Yeah.
it just dawned on me and I was asking about the amplifier. Mr. Mason, you're calling your client now?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Mason?
A minute.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Have you come right here to the podium? Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, sir. You can come up the ramp and have a seat in this purple chair.
Okay.
Do you need? Thank you, Ken.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
May we do a test run?
You're good. Thank you.
Mr. Mason, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Mr. Mason, could you state and spell your name for the record?
My name is Richard H. Mason.
And
All right. Pardon?
Mr. Mason, where do you reside?
I reside at 7395 Textile Road in Ypsilanti, Michigan, 48197.
And Mr. Mason, how old are you?
I'll be 87 next month.
Do you suffer from any illnesses such as dementia or Alzheimer's or anything?
No, I do not. I've had a full year of hospitalization, and I apologize. I have AFib, and I lose my breath very quickly, so go ahead, Steve.
Okay. Well, if there's at any point in time that you need to stop and take a breath, just let me know. Okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. You're very kind.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Now, Mr. Mason, you know Ms. Underwood, is that correct?
Yes, I do.
And just very briefly, when did you come to meet Ms. Underwood?
I saw her several times at the lake in Belleville on Thursday nights when they had music on the lake. And at one point, she was with another gentleman, and she was by herself at the moment. And I said, "Young lady, you're a very good dancer. I hope someday I can dance with you when I feel up to it." That was about 3 or 4 years before June 21st, 2018, when I invited her to my residence
Okay.
to cook her a burger.
Okay, and that was in, you said June of,
June the 21st of 2018.
okay. Yeah, of course. you would.
Yes.
I'm just, Mr. Mason, if you can just back up just a little. We're getting a
Is this
little-
better?
Yeah, getting a little.
Okay, sure.
reverb on that. And at some point in time, did you start a dating relationship with Ms. Underwood?
Yes, she came to my home.
Okay.
Cooked her a burger.
Okay, and we don't have to get into the specifics of
Okay.
that, Mr. Mason, but you did have a dating relationship with
Yes,
her.
we did.
And how long did that last for?
Approximately 16 months.
And you heard Ms. Underwood state that it was on again, off again?
Yes, it was, but she spent a great deal of time staying with me at my place
Okay.
because I provided her a place to sleep, a place to do her laundry, and a place to have meals,
Okay,
love and attention, which she said she needed badly.
okay, that's fine. So at some point in time, drawing your attention to September 22nd, 2019, you recall that day?
Yes, I do.
Do you recall seeing Ms. Underwood?
Yes, I was in church.
Okay. If
And
you
she
can't,
walked-
Mr. Mason, I can ask the question.
Okay,
and you can
fine.
answer. When did you first see her?
I was sitting in my pew that I normally sat in, and I looked up and she was standing to the left of me, so I got up and let her in, and she sat next to me through the whole service. After service, I got up so she could walk out, and she stood there and she was chatting with some people that come up and chatted with me. And I said, "Are you going dancing today?" And she said, "Yes, I am."
Okay. And when you say going dancing, is that at the senior?
That
center?
was referring to the community center in Belleville because that's where the band that she liked and the gentleman that she is with was playing. He plays bass
Okay.
for a band called Waco.
And I say the senior center and you say the community center, is that?
The same building,
Okay.
yes.
I just want to make sure we're talking about the same place. So you went to the senior center,
Yes.
community center that same day, correct?
Yes.
What time did you arrive there?
I got there at 1:40
At 1:40 PM?
PM, yes, because the music starts at 2 and plays till 5.
And did you see Ms. Underwood?
As she was there, she was moving around.
Okay. Did you have any contact with her?
I'm sorry?
Did you have any contact with her?
Not at that point.
Okay, at some point, did you have any contact?
After I got there at 1:40, I got up and walked to the restroom, went through this archway, and she was coming at me. And I stopped her. I said, "Linda, are you going to dance with me today?" She said, "Well, I don't know." And I said, "Linda, you either dance with me or we're not going to be together anymore." She said, "Are you threatening me?"
Okay.
I
Okay,
said,
so
"No."
you asked her to dance and she,
Didn't know if she would or not.
so at some point in time, did you approach her again?
I approached her about 3:30, 4 o'clock,
Okay, where was
and
she?
she was sitting at a table just to my right, where I was sitting all day, and there were 7 women there. And she had this lady that she referred to as Rhonda sitting to the left of her.
Okay.
And I walked up to her and put my hand on her left shoulder and said, "Linda," because she always told me from past experience.
Okay, let me just stop you right there.
Okay,
So you saw her sitting at the table
yes,
and you approached her.
yes.
In what direction did you approach her? Did you come from behind, the side?
I come from behind
Okay,
because I was walking past her and I just stepped over after someone went by me.
okay. Do you know if she could see you coming? Did you make
I can't see period other
Okay.
than things up closer if I have a device. So I had no way of knowing if she could see me. I can't even see you.
Okay, all right. And what happened next when you approached her?
So I approached her and put my hand on her shoulder and said, "Linda." And she said, "Get away from me. Don't you touch me." I said, "I just wanted to tell you, I want my garage door opener back that you didn't give me."
Okay.
By then, she was on the way to get away from the table.
Okay. Now, may I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Mason, can you see me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Now, I'm going to come and I'm going to stand here, and I'm going to be Ms. Underwood. Can you show Judge Martin?
You turn your back to me, yes.
Okay. Can you show Judge Martin
Put
what
my hand here and said, "Linda." I laid my hand here. Naturally, she started to raise up. When she raised up, my hand applied a certain amount of light pressure, but she was walking away from me at the same time, so she broke herself away from me.
Okay, did she? Okay.
There were 80 to 100 people in the room.
Have a seat.
So can we get the demonstrative described for the record?
Yes. Let the record reflect that Mr. Mason put his arm on my left shoulder, or his hand on my left shoulder and his other hand on my left arm.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Now, Mr. Mason, were you intending to hurt Ms. Underwood?
Not at all.
Were you trying to make her sit in her chair?
No, I was not.
Okay. And you approach Ms. Right there. What was your intent when you approached Ms. Underwood at that time?
Just to tell her I needed my garage door open. I thought it was an appropriate place to receive it.
Okay. Was there any chaotic scene or anything?
None whatsoever. Nobody looked up or anything other than this lady next to me said, "Take your hands off her." I already had them coming off.
All right. So what happened next after that?
Steve, may I say something?
No, let
Okay.
me just ask a question. What happened after that?
What happened after that?
Yeah.
She left. I walked around the back of her table and went over to my own table. Where she went was toward the restroom, the gift shop, wherever. I don't know where she went. And then at 5:05, I told her I'd meet her out by her car.
Okay.
Whether
and-
she
and
heard
did
it or
you-
not, I don't know.
Okay, and did you meet her at her car?
At her where?
Did you meet her at her car
Yes, I did.
after the dance?
Yes.
Okay, and what, if anything, transpired after
I just stood there and I said, I'm over here, because I had the left front corner of her car. I said, I'm over here when you can get me the garage door opener.
that? Okay,
She said, as soon as I get this stuff in my car, I'll get it and give it to you. I said, fine.
and she gave you the garage door.
Yes, she did.
And have you seen her since then?
The only time I saw her was February the 3rd, when I was in Ann Arbor Court, because I filed a PPO against her for an incident that took place in Ypsilanti at Leland, Coney Island.
Okay, Judge, I agree to. strike that
Objection
testimony.
sustained, just
Yeah.
for,
I,
so we're clear.
all I want to know is, have you seen her since then? date? Since September 22nd? You said one time.
Yes, because,
You don't have to say because.
okay,
All right.
yes.
I have no further questions.
Thank you. Mr. King,
Thank you. Mr. Mason, just a couple of questions. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, if you ever can't, just let me know. So you were at the senior center, community center on the evening of 9/22/19? September 22nd, September the 22nd, 2019. You were at
Yes,
the
I
community.
was there.
And sometime between 3:30 and 4 o'clock, you walked up to the table at which Miss Underwood was sitting, correct?
Correct.
And at that point in time, you placed your hands on Miss Underwood, correct?
Because she always told me to make sure I touched her and spoke to her when I approached her for something.
And she tried to get up and get away, correct?
Yes, she did.
And did you apply downward pressure on her?
I considered it no pressure, no.
Okay.
I put more pressure on when I give her a neck massage.
Didn't you tell your attorney on direct that as she stood up, you pushed downward pressure on her?
She stood up, but when she stood up, I had my hand in a position and it probably felt like pressure.
Okay.
I can't
Nothing
be
further, thank you.
judgmental on what the pressure was because I had no device that would tell me that I increased it or decreased it.
Nothing further, thank you.
thank you, Mr. King. Mr. Robinson,
Nothing further.
thank you. Mr. Mason,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you for your testimony. You can return to council table. Officer's gonna come walk with you over there, okay?
May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes, sir. I don't know who that was. I think they must have been in the wrong courtroom. Oh, they left right away. Any other witnesses, Mr. Robinson?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. King?
No rebuttal witnesses, Your Honor. Charlotte, closing arguments?
Yes.
Thanks, Rex.
I'm sorry.
I'm
I just-
sorry.
When I
I'm
asked you if you
sorry.
had any other witnesses,
Okay.
I just took it as that was it. Okay.
Miss Underwood expressed on the stand that she never wanted this to come this far. And I think it's unfortunate that we're dealing with people who have been through so much in their lives, lived so long, and been members of the community for so long, and they're here now in court. And that is really unfortunate. Your Honor, this is a domestic violence case, and the charges are quite simple. Prior dating relationship establishes the domestic element of the case. So as both parties agree that they were in a dating relationship, we're left with assault and battery. So assault and battery, the unwanted, forceful, or offensive touching of another, or again, attempt for the assault. But we're talking about a battery here. We're talking about the unwanted, forceful, or offensive touching of another. Miss Underwood did not want to have contact with Mr. Mason. Miss Underwood had decided to end the relationship. She was there with her own friends at her own table when Mr. Mason approached her. And when Mr. Mason approached her, her reaction was to leave, at which time Mr. Mason placed hands on her against her will in a forceful manner, which restrained and restricted her movement and caused pain to her shoulder and arm. Your Honor, again, not the case of the century, not the worst case we've ever seen, but still, we all learned in elementary school that you keep your hands to yourself. And when you put your hands on another person in a harmful or offensive way, that's a battery. And that's what we're here for today, Your Honor. Mr. Mason battered Miss Underwood by placing his hands on her in a harmful or offensive way. It's been 2 years since this incident. We're dealing with people who have naturally memories have aged over time. But Miss Underwood was very clear on her memories of the incident that caused her pain. Trauma really implanted things in her memory, and she remembers very clearly the grabbing against her will and the pain that it caused. Your Honor, again, I ask for the court to find the defendant guilty. I believe it's been established quite clearly through the testimony of the witnesses that this was a harmful or offensive touching of Miss Underwood by Mr. Mason, and that the couple had a prior dating relationship. So I would ask that the court find the defendant guilty. I reserve further argument for rebuttal.
Thank you. Mr. Robinson.
Thank you, Your Honor. I won't disagree with Mr. King that the parties were in a dating relationship. I think that's obvious. Whether at this point the prosecution has established beyond a reasonable doubt that there was an assault that happened. We take the testimony of Ms. Underwood. She was honest with the court in that she said she didn't remember things. We appreciate that, but that's important when the prosecution is trying to establish what exactly happened. Also, the fact that there were, by Ms. Underwood's testimony, 7 other people that were there when this traumatic incident happened. It's a he said, she said, Your Honor. The parties, again, had an on-again, off-again relationship. Mr. Mason, who at 86 still remembers perfectly what happened that particular day. His intent was not to hurt Ms. Underwood. He went over there and approached her. As Mr. King had also alluded to, these parties are older. He approached her in a sense that was not in any way menacing, not in any way trying to be harmful to her, just to get her attention. Ms. Underwood indicated that when she said stop, he stopped. She also said that it lasted a few seconds. The court can look at the reasonableness of this and say, is this really an assault, or was Mr. Mason just approaching her to make contact and communicate rather than intention to harm her? Your Honor, we submit that that is not the case here. He did not intend to harm her. She continued to stay at the senior center for another hour. The police department was right there. She could have gone and made a statement at that particular point. I understand that Mr. King had indicated that she had, again, experienced this incident and this trauma. She didn't go to the police station. She couldn't remember when she went to the police station to make the report. She said she didn't want to pursue the matter. Again, Your Honor, those are elements that would seem to indicate that an assault did not happen here. We ask that the court find Mr. Mason not guilty.
Mr. King.
Your Honor, as to, again, the complaining witness's lack of memory, the lack of memory that she has focuses on external, superfluous facts surrounding the core fact that being the battery that's charged. Her memory of the battery, as she's testified to, is quite clear. It's been almost 2 years since this happened. And unfortunately, the pandemic has created a situation where cases are taking longer to try and memories have faded. But if Your Honor will recall and judge her as she testified, her testimony of the operative events is quite clear. As to the fact that this may have been a consensual or harmless touching, I would point to the fact that Ms. Underwood had made it quite clear that she did not want to have contact with Mr. Mason. Stay away from me. She did not want this contact with Mr. Mason by her actions, if you believe Mr. Mason's testimony, even earlier that day. The incident where he was approached and asked to dance, and she said no. She was very clear she didn't want contact with him, yet he came up to her and made a harmful or offensive contact with her. And as far as her motivations to report, as Your Honor is well aware, she had stated on the record that she struggled with this decision, and she explained to the court better than I ever could why she reported this and why she delayed, and I don't think that impacts her credibility in any way. Your Honor, again, I ask for a verdict of guilty as to the charged offense. Thank you.
Thank you. The court has had the opportunity to listen to the witnesses this morning, and will say, as relates to Ms. Underwood's testimony, the court found her to be extremely credible. The period of time that's important to this court is from the moment Mr. Mason approached her to the moment that Ms. Underwood departed the table. And Ms. Underwood was quite clear in her testimony that she did not want to have contact with him that afternoon. Precisely where he put his hands and her physical response to being grabbed on her left arm and her right shoulder, and the pain that ensued, whether the pain was for 5 seconds or 5 minutes, it was pain after not wanting to have contact with Mr. Mason. The court listened to Mr. Mason's testimony where he indicated that he did apply pressure to Ms. Underwood's body after receiving a couple different signals from Ms. Underwood that she did not wish to engage with him that afternoon. Saying all that to say that the court will find Mr. Mason guilty to the sole count in this matter, that being domestic violence, as charged. Mr. King.
Thank you, Your Honor. As Ms. Underwood is still present, I have no objection to immediate sentencing if the defense wishes.
Mr. Robinson?
No objections, Your Honor.
Ms. Underwood, do you want to come up to the podium? Is there something you'd like to say before Mr. Mason is sentenced in this matter?
My statement today was totally honest and complete. I don't remember some of the things, but when you have trauma to you, somebody's hurting you, that is the incident that I remember well, because you remember pain, you remember anger, you remember being embarrassed, you remember trying to get away from that situation. And he did hurt me, and I didn't report because I'm of old age and he is too, and I didn't want the embarrassment, but I didn't want to let it go either, you know. So I just wanted justice for what he did to me.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Robinson?
Your Honor, I asked the court to take into consideration that Mr. Mason is headed at 86 years old. He has had no prior communication with the court system whatsoever. He's lived a good life. He's lived a healthy life. As he testified under oath, his intention was never to hurt Ms. Underwood. It's not in his nature to do that. We asked the court to take that into consideration. Mr. Mason has indicated to me he would like to make a statement to the court. That's okay with the court.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Mr. Mason.
Your Honor, when I first met Linda Underwood, I told her that I really was in love with her dancing. I love to dance. I have a basement, or a dance hall floor in my basement, and she and I danced many, many evenings in my kitchen, in the basement. And I was madly in love with this lady. And then I found out through sources that she was seeing someone else at the same time she was seeing me. And that's when this started going downhill. And she chose my trip that I took on September the 10th to Florida to come back by my house and stand in my backyard. And it was unannounced completely. And I went to the door and I said, "What are you doing here?" She said, "I had to come back because," she said, "it's such a beautiful view. I had to see it." She said, "May I come in?" I said, "Sure, come on in." I love that woman, Your Honor. And I was trying to do everything I could to make her life more meaningful than she'd ever had in her lifetime. I knew she was divorced by her husband after 10 years of marriage when her twins were 10 years old. I know a lot of other things, Your Honor, but I found love in the trip we took to Florida. The way down was the most beautiful time of my lifetime. But yet, she said she was done with me. If she was done with me, she never uttered a word to me that she didn't love me anymore. Because the weekend before that, even though she wouldn't pick me up at the airport because she said, "I have plans," I sensed what the plans were. And I got another ride home from someone else because I was down visiting my oldest daughter, who, by the way, just recently died on May the 12th. I've had a lot of heartache in the last year. This is the climax of, I guess, that heartache. And likewise, I have prayed to God that He would understand this whole scenario and do what is right. I am an upstanding man. I spent 40 years at Ford Motor Company. I own my own business for 22 years. I did everything I could to make Linda happy. And she used to sit at my place and eat and say, "You know what? We eat wonderfully. We live good. I thank you." And I said, "You're welcome. I'm happy to provide this for you." So why this all came about, and she didn't walk away from it and say, "Terminate it, stop it," I don't know. I don't know what her motive is, but I'll leave that in God's hands. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mason. Mr. King, was there anything you wanted to say before sentence is imposed in this matter?
Your Honor, having heard the testimony and the allocutions, I think Your Honor is very well versed in the facts of this case and the nature of these people's relationships and the history. So I just leave it to the court's discretion to fashion an appropriate sentence.
Anything else, Mr. Robinson?
No, Your Honor, I concur with Mr. King.
As Mr. Robinson indicated previously, it did not appear that Mr. Mason had any prior contact with the criminal justice system. There was a note on the front of the file that there was no criminal history. And for a person at 86 years old to be facing their first contact with this court says a lot. As the court thinks about crafting an appropriate sentence in this matter, it does not seem appropriate to impose any amount of jail time on Mr. Mason in this matter. It doesn't seem appropriate to send him to counseling. It doesn't seem like this is one of those ongoing or escalating kind of situations. Saying that to say that the only thing that's available to the court, reasonably available to the court, are fines and costs. Court will impose a fine of $500, cost of $500, $75 crime victim, $50 state cost, $20 fund fee, for a total of $1,145. I will put Mr. Mason on 6 months non-reporting probation. He is to have no contact with Ms. Underwood. I understand that he indicated that they've only had one contact since this incident, but I don't in as much as this relationship is refreshed by all of us being in court this morning, I just want to have a little buffer of no contact. So that being said, those are the fines and costs and the terms. Anything else, Mr. King?
Nothing further from the people. Thank you, Your Honor.
Anything else, Mr. Robinson?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. This matter is concluded. We are off the record. Thank you much.
Thank you, Your Honor. Appreciate it.